ago, I won the World Series of Poker main event.
Chris Moneymaker is atop the poker world.
I realized every poker player's dream. Win the main event. Millions are at stake with this bracelet for the champion. The World Series of Poker main event final table. Someone else's dream gets dealt tonight.
Welcome back inside the Penn and Teller Theater. Just about set to get the cards back in the air as we take a look at our leaderboard. Ryan Reese with 60.5 million chips. He is top dog. Jay Farber in second place. Sylvain Loosely has worked his way into third place. JC Tran, the chip leader at the start of this table, in fourth place. McLaughlin, the short stack. Looking at the Wild Turkey final table payouts, 3 players gone pretty quickly, but it's been a pretty dry spell on knockouts for a while. House, then the last one to go out with 1.2 million. The next to go out earns 1.6 million. And so right now, a very interesting dynamic is McLaughlin, who came in as the third biggest stack, the short stack right now. What's going through his mind? Panic right now with under 10 million right now, Antonio?
I mean, he's a pretty calm and collected guy. I don't think he's panicking, but obviously he's smart enough to know that he's in a very tough and dangerous position.
Ryan Reese, Norman, is showing, as they say, skills beyond his years right now so far.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's wise beyond his years or still wet behind the ears. And I think Phil Hunger's hit on it. We haven't seen him. We've seen him throwing the punches. We haven't seen him hit by a punch yet. And the real test will be if he gets hit by a big punch and he's down a little, how he reacts to that.
One thing I think we are all in agreement with, the JC Tran came in as the chip leader, and though he's in fourth place right now, he's not panicking.
He's not panicking. I mean, it's been a little unfortunate for JC. We haven't really seen him pick up any real hands. He's been jibbing and he's been jabbing a lot, and it's been working out some and not working out some. So he's not happy to be in fourth place right now, I can tell you that. I see him tightening up a little bit as we proceed.
So you saw just about 55 minutes left in this level. Our break pattern is coming where we are in the middle of a play level when we do take our 15-minute break. So in just under an hour, the blinds will go up. Right now at 300, 600,000, a 75,000 chip ante. Cards are down before the hand is over. We'll see the whole cards once it does come to completion. Tran and Lehavut. Tran making the call of Lehavut's pre-flop raise. JC checks the tray 6 jack board. Lehavut continues.
1.1.
1,000,001. And JC quickly releases his hand of 8-4. Lehavut missed also, but he had ace high.
I mean, I'm surprised to see JC Tran call with 8-4 out of position. I mean, I know it's suited, but you're still playing your hand out of position against a good player. You know, unless you plan to get really creative with it, I think that's probably just a full pre-flop.
Is it a sign of anything that he's playing these cards? Maybe I'll hit the flop. Maybe I'll find the flush.
I think there might be some frustration deep down. Hey, I've been so card dead. Let me see if I can make a flop. But I also think that on the flip side, JC is way too sharp and also not such an emotional player to let that kind of take over him. So kind of surprised to see that call.
Tran in danger of falling behind Lehavut. The two of them really neck and neck. Tran 4, Lehavut in 5th position. Folded to Amir right now.
Raised to 1.2.
From the cutoff seat just before the button. Raised to 1,000,002. McLaughlin folds the button. Folded around to Farber. The big he gives it up, and Lehavut will take it.
And right now the pressure is all on Marquette and McLaughlin.
What's your record right now?
5-3.
There is the short stack.
Way to buy this week.
15 big blinds left. He can't wait too long.
What's your team?
Chargers.
They won this week, didn't they?
They had a buy. Oh no, they lost.
McLaughlin under 10 million.
They lost overtime.
Yeah.
Trying to match one of his good friends and win this world championship. Jonathan Duhamel, of course, the 2010
the worst team in the NFL
main event champion. They're good buds.
They're both Florida teams.
Duhamel had a fairly smooth ride to the main event title in that November 9. McLaughlin right now would have to just really pull one off for the ages. In the short stack with 6-handed left, he's got 15 big blinds. It would be quite a feat if he could duplicate Duhamel now.
Jacksonville's whole team sucks. Tampa Bay's defense is good.
J.C. Tran opens for a raise, $1,350,000. Folded to Sylvain Loosely, puts the shades down.
Did they play? Did they play?
What a run Loosely has been on in the last hour or so. From the short stack up to third place, $30.2 million.
I don't know. Without Doug Martin, they had like no off.
Cool. That's true.
Frenchman calls. Loosely in the big blind will be out of position with Tran, who has the button. Jack 10-4.
Check.
Loosely checks. Tran needs a win. Whether, I mean, he's not in danger right now, but he needs a win for his morale.
During the last break, we saw JC playing basketball. He looked like he could play for the Sacramento Kings. They could use the help. But JC actually played high school football.
JC with a bet of $1.4 million. And loosely get a read on the two-time World Series bracelet winner. Feels strength. And King Deuce is good enough for Tran to take that pot with the bet.
Like my buddy bet that
Mark Etienne McLaughlin, the short stack from the third biggest stack. Now the short stack in the danger zone.
On the other side of the bet, I bet him that Kansas City.
And of course, he would love to shock the world. And 5 biggest upsets in sports history. You want to take this one, Norman?
Sure. I'm surprised Buster Douglas is at #1 because I'm looking at #5 where you cashed at a WSOP circuit event recently, correct?
More than just that, right?
Final table, right? 4th place?
Final table. Yeah, finished 4th just a little while ago. And oh wow, they put the real cash down. I told my wife I won like $300, and so that's going to be a problem when I get home.
Well, I got to tell you, Lon, I mean, I remember Annette Oberstad famously once won an online event without ever looking at her hole cards. You just final tabled a World Series circuit event without ever looking at your rank of hands cheat sheet. It is a shocking upset. Congratulations.
It was wrong anyway. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I would all do. Nobody. I pretty much did it on my own. You guys didn't support me at all.
Where is it?
No, thank you for your support and for mentioning that. I think it was a bigger upset than Buster Douglas, though, actually. Loosely with a raise to $1.8 million from the small blind. Reese in the big blind with the big stack. Is it me, or does Loosely just seem to exude a little more confidence now, the way his posture is?
It certainly seems like he's woken up. His posture is better. Scarf is not moving as much. Re-raise.
Big stack with the re-raise. Testing Sylvain Loosely.
They were too conservative.
Loosely has crept his way up to almost 30 million chips.
And that could do damage.
Of course.
It is what it is.
So let's see now. We heard Phil Hellmuth talking about the punches that Reese has been able to throw. Now, is this the time for Loosely to fire back?
Yeah, I mean, it really puts Loosely in a tough spot. You know, when the guy behind you with more chips raises you, it's just gross. And so, even with a hand like Ace Jack, small pocket pair, it's really tough. I mean, I don't see Loosely folding those hands, but Reese could be up to anything at this point. I think that with a hand like Ace 10 or a medium pocket pair, he's much more likely to call. He's got position. His opponent has a lot of chips. He doesn't want to put himself in a position to open the door for Loosely to re-raise now and Reese not be able to call. So I think it's either he's pretty weak or he is a monster.
Loosely folds, and look what Reese is doing with Jack Deuce.
Right, it was either or. The hand doesn't really have any value, so his only value is just winning it right then and there.
Reese is a beast
Ryan,
here
there's
so
a chance
far.
I go to that Bears-Lions game in December.
Where?
There's a,
Where is it?
I think it's in Detroit.
Millions of dollars
like
on
the
the
day
line.
after
You
I leave
mentioned
Miami.
football at the championship table
know when
and
it is?
snap to
December
attention.
9th.
Well, the VIP host apparently has some ticket connections for
I've
a
gone to 4 games this year.
Bears-Lions game in December.
My boy
Chip
plays
leader
for the
Ryan
Bears, so
Reese.
Oh, yeah?
I'll get a couple tickets.
Hospitality, business, isn't that Jay Farber's specialty?
Indeed, and Farber actually said that it was poker actually was a great networking opportunity to move up the ranks here in the hospitality world and VIP world and hosting parties here in Las Vegas. They actually came from Santa Barbara to Las Vegas to play poker. He was playing a lot of poker at an 18 and over casino out there in the Santa Barbara area, and just found himself making the trek to Vegas more and more, and got to know more people, and poker really led his way to his career now. But hey, maybe it's a time for a career change. Reese with a raise to $1.5 million.
Well, Amir Leavitt made a career change several years ago from the IT world, where he was an engineer, to poker, and it has borne a lot of fruit.
Leavitt would like to get into a pot with the chip leader. Makes the call from the big blind. So small blind, big blind action here. Here's the flop, 9-10 tray. Reese first to act in the small blind. And he will continue.
Bet 1.7.
Continuation bet of $1,700,000.
Palm Springs and Las Vegas Boulevard. 5 minutes from here, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
So far, this is pretty standard. He raised pre, he bet on the flop. This is the kind of flop that could actually have some potential for a lot of different hands. Hands like King Jack or Queen Jack or any of those kind of hands where you have overcards and a gut shot.
Oh, you upgrading?
Obviously, any hand with a 10, 9, 10, 8, all these kind of middle-ish hands that Leavitt would call to see a flop do connect. So we'll see what happens.
I want to stay kind of.
Amir already guaranteed the biggest live poker cash of his career. Makes the call. They build a pot of 6.8 million. Deuce of clubs on the turn.
Deeper end.
That is what you call a blank. So that doesn't really change the dynamics of the hand in any way. Reese is grabbing chips. He's not really concerned about the deuce.
4 of those chips in his hand are worth $1 million. They're $250 each.
So he has to be concerned about Leavitt's call on the flop. So he's basically saying I can beat a 10 at this point. That's what he's trying to say.
3.250.
$3.25 million from Ryan Reese. Is he just being the big stack bully? He's a piece of it. Good pocket pair. Is he just fooling around?
Doesn't seem like Leavitt likes this spot very much. I don't think he'll be proceeding.
Is it posture? Is it a facial expression? Is it?
I mean, I just feel like he doesn't like his hand very much. He called one time on the flop to see.
The chip leader with pocket aces. Leavitt is lucky he did not hit his ace. So Amir gets out of the way. Reese stacking the winnings once again, as he has been doing most of the night. He has been the man of the hour at this championship table. Reese scored the first knockout. It came at the expense of Mark Newhouse, who had survived one all-in, but could not survive his all-in against Reese. David Benefield then knocked out by Jay Farber when he missed his draw. And then in 7th place, it was McKeel Brimmelhouse who came up short to Ryan Reese. So that leaves us 6 players Ryan Reese in the lead with over 66 million chips. The next elimination worth over $1.6 million.
It's been a dream of main event for Ryan Reese on day one. He started at a table with TJ Cloutier and Mike Matiso. He had quads twice on day one. He said he flopped sets 4 or 5 times. And now here on day 7, we have seen him pick up some really big hands, and it has been smooth sailing to the chip lead for Ryan Reese.
Farber opens for a raise of $1.3 million. A very even-keeled, even-tempered, even-toned Jay Farber. The only man who really could probably outdo him in those categories is right here, Amir Leavat. Farber has his moments of excitement, but usually in a hand, not so much excitement.
They just love to re-raise Farber. And here he goes.
Be careful. Leavat, the 5th biggest stack. Farber, the 2nd biggest stack right now.
Re-raise, 3.1.
3-bet from Amir to 3.1 million, who, as we mentioned, is a dual citizen of Israel and United States, and he opted to have the Israeli flag on his graphic there. Amir, the 2nd shortest stack. Misspoke, I apologize. Farber, the 2nd biggest stack, and Farber is going to come along. Four deuce 10.
Leavat knows that if Farber has any big cards, that just missed him entirely, and he's probably going to fold to a single bet. So I would be shocked to not see a continuation bet here.
Farber said the one thing he missed while playing the long days of the main event was his workout in the gym. As you can tell, he loves to work out in the gym, and that's one thing that he did not get that stress relief during the 7 days of play.
I was wondering where he was the week that I was in the gym during the main event.
Oh yeah,
I never saw him.
Didn't see him, huh? 2.3 million from Amir Leavat.
The question is, how many Norman Chads would it take to take down one Jay Farber in the octagon? What's the over-under? 18?
Now, Farber cuts out calling chips, but they're not in the middle just yet. Now they are.
This feels medium pocket parry for Farber so far. I don't see him doing this with just anything. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a hand like ace-queen just to kind of take one off and see what happens on the turn. I think people are telling him by now, hey, you can't just fold so easily. So unless Leavat has a premium hand like he's representing, such as an overpair, pretty hard for him to continue given that Farber just called the flop. So we'll see what happens here on the turn and pick up some more information.
Well, even whatever Farber has to play back at sometimes is worth it on the scale of it maybe keeps them from doing that in the future. I mean, you're paying the toll now to
for future
prevent it.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, you know, the pot has almost 12 million chips in the pot already. This is a big, big, big portion of Leavat's stack.
There's more going in, it looks like. Leavat starting the hand with 22 million. 4 million, a huge commitment from Amir Leavat.
Yeah, more than 9 million of his starting stack in this hand of 26 plus in the pot now.
There's a very reasonable chance that Leavat puts Farber on not a super strong hand and is trying to do this with ace-king. I wouldn't be shocked if he has ace-king and he's just trying to blow Farber off the hand here.
And actually, Leavat, I'm incorrect, only started this hand with 22 million, 9 of his 22 million in the hand right now.
Wow. Farber has to step carefully as well. He has worked very
Okay, so you can pretty much take
Wow.
ace-king out of Farber's range.
Good call.
I think it's much more likely that he has ace-10. He might even have 2 jacks.
River card now, ace of hearts. I was going to say before Farber made the call, he's worked so hard to get himself into this position, playing very solid poker.
So if Leav would had jacks, queens, or kings, certainly he would check the river. So if he fires the river, you can take those hands out of the equation. This is also a great card to put a big bet in if you're bluffing here, but it's a lot. It's a lot to risk. If Jay has ace-10, which it's possible he's walking into a big trap, but there's so much money in the pot. If he was to ship it here, it's very difficult for Farber to call without a set or 2 pair. And the only 2 pair he can have is ace-10.
And if he was just trying to muscle Farber.
Right, with ace-king, and now he got there, I still think he's betting for value.
Farber keeping a close eye on Leavat.
I don't think he's done with it. I think he's going to make a big bet.
A key moment at this championship table involving the number 2 stack, the number 5 stack.
Check. Nope.
There's a check from Amir.
He's done with it.
Now Jay Farber. Breathing very heavily.
Check.
He checks as well. King Jack for Leavat. Ace Queen, and Farber got there on the river.
Wow.
He hit the ace. He was ahead the whole way, but he could not feel confident at all.
No, I mean, Farber picked up the flush draw on the turn along with the overcards. I mean, if the river comes of 3 of spades, I'm really interested to see what would have happened. Huge pot for Farber.
Oh, Jay, now up to almost 50 million chips. Let's go down to Kara Scott for a report from the floor. Kara.
While the rest of the players were spending the last break getting some food and watching back some of the footage, Ryan Reese was outside getting a breath of fresh air with his girlfriend Tabitha and exchanging jersey stories with last year's champ Greg Merson. Now Ryan is, as we've seen, very confident. He's in a really good headspace right now, and Tabitha says that part of that might just be that he's so well rested. They've spent this past week doing not much else besides resting, relaxing, and getting him ready to play for over $8 million. They didn't even go out on Halloween. They said there's plenty of time to celebrate after he wins.
So far it's paid off with almost 66 million chips and the lead here. This championship table at the 2013 main event with 6 players left. Jay Farber taking a pot off Amir Leavat. Farber up to almost 50 million. Leavat down to below 13 million.
And it's definitely 2 different divisions right now. Reese and Farber have 115 million chips. The other 4 combined have 60 million chips. So they definitely are the muscle of this table.
You mind breakfast? Yeah. Are you even awake for breakfast?
Farber stacking the pot after raising with pocket 4s. Still just 3 chips in play right now. 25,000 chip, the smallest. Lavender chip worth 100,000. $250,000. The desert sand beige chip. And you look at Jay Farber's big stack over there, the second biggest stack, over 51 million. Jay Farber came in as the 4th biggest stack with 25.9 million. It has been a good night so far for this amateur poker player. Sylvain Loosley
Raised to 1.3.
under the gun, opens the action to $1.3 million. So the youngest player and the amateur player, 1 and 2 right now.
Seems unlikely, but as we have found out so many times, unlikely is sometimes likely at poker final tables.
Lehavut, who had a tremendous opportunity to win this break. So he's not out of it, but from a big stack down to the second short stack, 12.5 million. Mark-Etienne McLaughlin, the short stack.
Yeah, Mir in his worst position at this final table he's been in, down to 20 big blinds.
I think he's kicking himself a little bit in the head for that play. You know, he had King Jack out of position against a guy who, even though he's loosened up his range a little bit, is a relatively tighter player. And once he got called pre-flop, I think that he was not in a good spot.
All right, let's take a look at the Wild Turkey final table payouts. We showed you the 3 eliminations. There's what they paid out. Newhouse ninth place money. Nothing extra tonight. They all got paid ninth place money back in July. David Benefield earns $944,000. McKeel Brimmelhouse, the first $1 million and only $1 million payout so far, because we have 6 players left. The champion will pick up $8.3 million, and that'll be seen tomorrow night on ESPN. Our coverage begins at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, cut a shuffler.
Folded to McLaughlin. And those blinds come around quickly, 6-handed.
Very quickly. 1.35 million around.
All in. All in.
There you see McLaughlin shoving. McLaughlin on the cutoff.
13 big blinds left for Mark-Etienne.
And then we'll get through. McLaughlin with ace-queen. Yep, worthy of a shove. He needs a little more of that to get his spirit going. Mark-Etienne's girlfriend on the left.
His buddy Jonathan Duhamel says that Mark-Etienne is the best player at this final table. And he might be, but I wouldn't expect Duhamel to say, no, my buddy's the 4th best player at this final table.
So any increase in stack is a significant increase in his stack right now for Mark-Etienne. Barber sitting on 50 million, folds his button. Loosely now. 27 million plus.
First walk of the tournament.
Isn't it?
And yep.
First walk of the tournament, right? That was a king.
Reese gets a walk, shows a king. 6 of spades he showed to us. So $1.6 million to the next one out. And then it's over a $500,000 bump for 5th place. So could be a little bubble here.
It's a lot of cheese. I mean, that's a lot of cheese.
Ryan Reese, just a year ago or so, had like $2,000 to his name. He decided to enter a WSOP circuit event in Hammond, which is $2,000 in his bank. He bought in for $1,675. I mean, that's going all in with real money.
That is indeed.
You know, it reminds me of that old Lee Trevino line that Pressure was playing a $20 Nassau with only $5 in your pocket. The kid had no money. And he rolled the dice.
And that was the biggest event he'd ever entered. More people in that event than he'd ever played against.
And he ended up finishing in 2nd, and winning more than $250,000.
I respect that, you know? You can't get there unless you take the gamble. Sometimes you just gotta gamble.
McLaughlin with the raise will take it again. More critically needed chips for the French Canadian. Mark-Etienne seems to have some of the pressure release from him with the short stack. Short stacks can be easy to play, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually pretty easy. You just are all in or fold, basically. So we call that the SST, the short stack torture, because there's not much thinking to do. You just shove or fold.
Will Mark-Etienne be with us tomorrow night? We will crown the 2013 main event champion beginning at 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on over on ESPN. We'll stay with you on ESPN2 for several more eliminations. It's poker's biggest 2 nights of the year. The crowd loves it. We know you love it at home. We enjoy being here. What an atmosphere the fans bring to the Penn & Teller Theater, and they make it all worthwhile. McLaughlin taking that his 3rd in a row.
Some people take Red Bull. Some people take others.
Or Blue Bull, maybe. I don't know.
Are you more excited you got a walk now?
No, he got the walk. Okay. We were on the crowd. So few walks, but Mark Etienne got one there when Lehavut folded.
And this is the first Lambeau leap I've seen after a walk in poker history. That's as excited as you get.
There's Jonathan Duhamel in the green glasses in the back. Disguised in that outfit. Action on Ryan Reese after Farber and Loosely folded. Lehavut has the button here. And he gives it up, a raise to 1.3 from Reese. And Mark Etienne's streak is over. Tran folds and Reese will take it with the raise. An ace. And you talked about hand ranges, six-handed, pretty standard.
Right, I think that most of these players have probably spent some time playing six-handed, and it's a different dynamic. I mean, we see a lot more three-betting, a lot of loose opens. You know, there's 3 less hands to get through than they originally started, so clearly a difference. I love six-handed Nolan Holman. I wish I could play against 5 Norman Chads at one time. That would be fantastic.
You're relentless, sir. We take a look at six-handed. Been six-handed for a while. As you mentioned, a lot of these players play it as a regular game. It seems more fascinating to them. The action's a little greater because the hand ranges. You play more hands.
Right, it's more fun because you have a lot more decisions to make.
Lehavut steals McLaughlin's thunder with a pre-flop raise, 1.2. And JC could use a little Lambeau leap himself here. Down to 25 million now, 4th place.
3-bet coming to a theater near you.
There it is.
2.8.
Farber gives it up. So now back to Amir Lehavut.
He starts this hand with less than 20 big blinds.
And Tran's 3-bet will take it. King Trey. Lehavut gave up Queen 10.
I mean, you have to give some credit to JC Tran. We haven't seen a real hand at all. I mean, he just keeps getting complete air, but he's in there dancing all the time. Got to respect that.
You have to think it's coming, too. I mean, right?
Phil Hellmuth mentioned that during the break. If he finally gets cards, he's going to be really, really dangerous.
Wife Heather due to deliver their second child November 15th, hence the golf clap over there. don't want to get too excited. But the family is out here. Lots of family to back him up. Private plane waiting on the tarmac in case they need to jet away. Ask JC if she goes into labor while you're at the table. Have you made a decision? He says, no, I've not made a decision on what I will do.
I think that he stays. He continues to play. There's too much money at risk, and I think his wife would want that for the kid. So I think he has to stay for the family, which is kind of sick.
Yeah, but you can't announce that ahead of time. You got to be the good dad. Lehavut with a raise to 1.2.
You just got to plan better. You got to go back 9 months in time and. Well,
you're always in a poker tournament.
It's interesting you would say that, Antonio. Is it correct? I heard you made a prop bet with Bill Perkins about abstaining from sex for a year.
I was hoping this wouldn't come up. Yes, it's true. For a lot of money, and you know, we were a few cocktails in, and obviously it was one of the worst bets I've ever made, and I had to buy out of that one.
You didn't make a phone call to your significant other on that one?
I had to buy out of that
one. We'll take it there.
I just don't understand. First of all, you're no longer partying as much, so I can't believe you had the cocktails in you to make that type of bet.
Well, Perkins took advantage of me.
JC Tran with over 27 million chips found a way to relax prior to this championship table, going out with Jay Farber. Only playing for 8 million. We can have some fun while we're at it, right?
Actually, Jay Farber's taken care of a lot of poker players in his time here, and he used to take care of Antonio's son. He mentioned to me that you've calmed down a bit, but he knew you in your heyday. He said your heyday.
Before Marquee opened up, I used to see Jay at some other clubs, but once that opened, I really don't go anywhere else.
What was it? Ace-10.
The key there is that Jay knows what you were like, and he says you're not like that anymore. You don't. You've calmed down on the show.
You don't have to look.
You just look. You just have to show the camera.
Just snap the camera. Yeah.
So just don't be tempted to look.
For the camera.
You don't even have to show the camera.
I never look.
It doesn't make a difference.
I don't ever think I'm getting a walk, but
Jay Farber's job is to make sure his clients have a good time, talk them up, you know, make sure they're out there, you know, on the dance floor and everything. And you'd think he could bring some of those skills to the poker table here, but maybe he's more afraid of giving something away than whatever he's going to get in return.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, he's a disguised amateur. He is an amateur, but you can give a while away. You know, sometimes loose lips sink chips. So I think he is going to be more conservative at the table and really not speak unless spoken to, and not want to speak at all.
1,350,000.
Tran with a raise. Farber reaching for his chips.
All right. What's up? 1.35.
And there's a call from Farber. Lose lead now. Releases his hand, as does Ryan Reese. And the big blind, Amir Lehavat. He and McLaughlin, the two short stacks, as you can see by their chip count at the top of the screen. And it looks like Amir will call for the discount as well. Three-way action.
A rare three-way action to the flop at this final table.
8-8-5. Leavitt and the big blind, first to act. Checked over to Tran now. JC, the original raiser, chips in hand.
That's 1.7.
$1.7 million from JC Tran. Can Farber find it in himself to stick around?
So Farber's call, I mean, I think it's almost impossible that he has an 8 in his hand. It's more likely that he has a flush draw. It's possible that he has some sort of a small to medium pocket pair. I think if he had a bigger pair, he would have 3-bet JC pre-flop.
So heads up.
Check.
Lehavat folded. Tran checks the deuce of hearts.
Check.
They both check. River card now. 4 clubs.
So JC is quite certain that Jay doesn't have a big overpair. So I think that if he had a real hand, he would have bet the turn. I think it's way more likely he has some hand that can win in a showdown, perhaps ace-jack or something of that nature.
Jay told me he's afraid of JC's reading abilities, that JC is one of the best at it. After Tran checks, so Farber bets 2.85 million and gets JC Tran to fold. And Farber had Tran dominated. Good bet, good fold.
I mean, I think that Farber's hand was almost face up. It kind of looked like a missed flush draw. I think that if JC would have thought about it a little more, like what hand was there where he could check the turn and bet the river, I think maybe JC could have capitalized on that by a check raise. But
our chip leader scored the first knockout of the evening. It had been a very exciting early hands. The first dozen hand, we saw some all-in, some surviving. River trips versus River full house. Jay Farber picking up pots, moving near the top of the leaderboard. McLaughlin, not much to cheer about as he goes into the crowd after getting a walk in the big blind. Tomorrow night we'll crown a champion on ESPN at 9 p.m. Eastern. First prize over $8.3 million. Ryan Reese right now, the youngest player, is leading the way. Jay Farber, yeah, that party boat is picking up steam big time. And course, we'll all decide it tomorrow on ESPN. Our final 6 players. McLaughlin trying to gain a little more momentum, does the leap again. That is the I gotta walk leap now. And a wasted pocket pair.
Well, Brady just got it.
It lights up this whole Penn and Teller Theater. It's been a good run for Marc-Etienne McLaughlin. And Amir folded. And the crowd welcomed Marc-Etienne with open arms.
And he's still threatening to have the first poker-related injury at a main event final table in at least 20 years.
This is a master at dodgeball. He's not going to get hurt leaping into the crowd at the Penn and Teller Theater.
Raise 1.3 million.
Barber with a raise to 1.3 million. I'm sure his coaches, Finn Lamb, Jesse Sylvia, and others like to see him getting more active here at 600.
Yeah, of course, and I think he's adjusted relatively well.
Reese the Beast with the champ behind him. Spurred on to make the call. On Tran now in the big blind.
I mean, this is a pretty good spot for Reese. It's, you know, he thinks that he can outplay Farber 100% of the time. And so he has position, he has a bigger stack, and he knows that Farber's under a lot of pressure, and so I think he wants to see a lot of flops from him.
Another paired board with Jay Farber involved.
Check.
Farber checks.
It's very likely that Reese will just bet the flop and Farber will give up.
And you see the look on Farber's face like, I'm going to check and you're going to bet, I'm going to fold. It's all written right there already.
1.8.
I know what you're going to do, he said. Played out by the book. Reese had a pocket pair of trays. And Ryan Reese gets a little stronger. The two top stacks don't want to tug on each other's cape too strongly there.
Ryan's best friend, Dylan Armstrong, thought up the Reese the Beast expression at one of the World Series circuit events. He thought that Ryan needed to have some type of nickname to brand himself. Reese the Beast makes sense.
Yep, it does indeed. And the Beast approaching 70 million chips, over 35% of the chips in play. Bruce Lee, who had a nice rush to get himself over 30 million, now is melted back to just over 25 million. Been quiet in the recent hands. Folded two, Marc-Etienne McLaughlin. McLaughlin starting the hand with just 10.7 million, raises to $1.2 million.
Thanks, Jason.
Nobody wants to play.
So he couldn't go for the hat trick into the crowd.
Right.
See, he's winded.
Patience, a virtue up to a point, and then you have to pull the trigger at any no-limit hold'em table.
Blitz still there. Blitz have paid him. Yeah.
Probably some type of
The price of patience is paid off.
And the price of poker is going up pretty soon as well, I think.
Right now the blinds are 3 and 600,000. They had just under an hour left at that level when we came back after the break.
Next will be 400, 800,000.
Raise 1.2.
Yeah, but with a raise. Now J.C. Tran.
199.
J.C. getting a count on Amir's stack. Fold over to Luzli. Savant in the big blind.
He's been roommates with Bertrand Elke-Gropelier for the last year.
A fold from Loosely, and Lehabut will take it, Jack 10 suited. Loosely folding an ace there.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. I mean, you can't really call with that hand out of position because it doesn't really play well against any hand out of position, really. And so it's either re-raise or give it up.
Lehabut stacking chips. He has a tough road back.
Yeah, too much up. Yeah, way too much.
Take a look at the final table chip counts in their seat order. Ryan Reese, the big stack right now. And he can try to punish Lehabut and McLaughlin, the two short stacks. Farber with position now on J.C. Tran, who has a much shorter stack than Jay.
Lehabut was a short stack when he won the bracelet in 2011 for much of that. And then he hit a big hand, and bang, he had a bunch of chips, and then he was in great shape. He never expected to win that. He says he never expects to win any tournament. He just keeps his expectations modest. But he's hoping for the same magic to happen now here again.
Bracelet came in 2011 as a 10K buy-in in a pot limit hold'em event. Won nearly $600,000. Heads up, Farber with a raise. Reese called. Trey 6-10. Reese checks immediately to Farber. By the way, the tattoos on his other arm, the watch arm that you see there, we mentioned the other samurai arm, but a fallen angel and a Valkyrie. He likes the strong female influence.
Everybody's got a style.
Yeah. $1.6 million from the tattooed Jay Farber. Reese makes the call.
I mean, this is a great spot to call with basically almost anything that has any kind of value, because Farber's the kind of guy that's probably going to give it up on the turn, given that he got called on the flop.
Reese checked once again. Farber
2.85.
bets again, 2.85.
So this feels a little fishy. I mean, he raised pre, he bet the flop. Now king comes on the turn, and he basically says the king doesn't worry me at all. So I'm not sure if Farber had a monster here at all. Oh, he had 9 high.
You had a great read on him there, Antonio.
I mean, sometimes people just decide to, it's called the Mike Mattisau, when you decide to win a hand before it gets dealt, basically. And I think in that spot, Farber was just, hey, you know, I'm not going to get pushed around, and I'm just going to go for it.
Well, we talked to Jay Farber before this main event final table, and we asked him to imagine what it would be like to win it all.
I think the idea or the goal is just to say that I'm world champion. You know, the money is great and everything, but you know, I'm here. I want to win. I want to look back and say that I made it to the final table of the World Series of Poker and I won. You know, I'm the world champion. My banner will be on the wall for the rest of my life. You know, more than anything, I want that. Everything else is nice. You know, honestly, I don't want the fame. I don't want the prestige. I just, for myself, want to say that I'm world champion.
Well, it's amazing. We start the main event with 6,300 players. We're down to 6, and 3 of them in their first main event ever. Jay Farber, Ryan Reese, and Sylvain Loosely.
And if you listen to that soundbite, you know, days ago, you go, oh yeah, Farber, everybody says that, but he's in a real position to do what he was talking about. There's a long way to go. Long way to go.
I'm looking on this side of the
Loosely on the button.
I was pretty sure somebody. I was like pretty sure you were going to give him like $100 bucks.
This is Reese in the small blind.
Loosely just called the button.
Yeah, it's going to cost him more, I think, to stick around.
It sure does look like it.
Raise, $2 million.
Lehabut gives up his big blind.
Thank you.
It's a raise to $2 million from Ryan Reese. So Loosely has to know that it's probably not going to get by.
I mean,
You
it
know,
worked.
why do that in the first place?
It worked a couple times in the past, and so, you know, the players obviously know he had a big hand when he did that, and he's hoping that maybe it works again.
Good point. It doesn't work this time. Ace queen for Reese. Reese happened to pick up a hand. Ryan Reese in a familiar position, stacking chips here at this championship table.
Reese is playing good. He's also running good. He looks like he's in the zone. He's very confident. I mean, he's the clear favorite to win this thing right now.
Just about 6 minutes left in this 600,000 chip level. And then you see how expensive it gets in just a few minutes. 400, 800.
1.3.
100,000 chip ante. Farber opening pots now more often. 1.3 million is the raise from Jay.
1.3.
Even though Elke and Lucy are roommates, they hardly ever play poker together. I asked Elke if he would destroy Sylvain if they played heads up, and Elke's answer was, I would destroy anyone heads up. Gotta love Elke.
Good point. Very good point.
He and I have a very interesting prop bet, Norm, that you'll appreciate. In France, when you see your friends, you kiss each other on the cheek. It's, you know, that's what you do. Right. It's the same that you do in Iran. And so one day we were at a poker table and we made this bet where anytime we see each other, we have to go in for the cheek kiss. Otherwise, it's $1,000. So if you ever see Elke and me in the same poker room, we're always greet each other with a kiss.
So the one miss, if you don't go in for the cheek kiss,
it's $1,000.
It's $1,000.
Yeah.
Does the witness get any action?
Not so much.
A re-raise, actually 3-bet by Luzley to 2.9 million after Farber opened it up.
Well, you got to give Farber a little bit of credit. I mean, he's loosened up his game a little bit. He did a double barrel right now against Reese. I like it.
He's sticky. It's a tough one to get rid of now.
He looks determined. He's a man on a mission.
5.3.
Look at that.
There is 5.3 million.
Farber.
Wow.
Turning it around on Sylvain Luzley.
And so this is what you call a 4-bet, and it's actually a pretty small re-raise. But I really would be surprised to see Farber do this without a real hand.
Cards on their backs during the hand. We'll flip them over when the hand is done. Hope you've been enjoying the new graphic up top. Players in yellow are the ones
By the way,
involved in the hand.
You see his right cheek? Well, I mean, it's to the left to us when you're looking at it. It's pulsating right there. I mean, I can see it clear as day.
Just underneath the jawline,
yeah,
you're talking
right
about.
over there.
Yeah.
And now that doesn't necessarily mean that he's weak. It just means that his adrenaline is bumping and he can't control it. So I think I don't think he has a medium holding. I think he has a really good hand or total error. But of course we'll learn more as there's more development.
It's a polarizing pulse.
A lot of times your pulse goes out of control because you have a monster hand.
Luzley taking his time with this until he finally does give it up, and Farber will take the pot with pocket tens. Jay Farber picking up a strong pocket pair.
And King Deuce would be total error.
And now Farber just fewer than 10 million chips behind Ryan Reese in second place. As this championship table really playing out in an unpredictable fashion. And you see where he started the day with. He's more than doubled up here in what is basically day 8 of the main event.
Jay played good poker to get here. He got coaching from some really good people. Actually, he ran into Bobby Baldwin, the main event champion. He knows him here from Las Vegas. And Bobby said, you know, you're talking to guys who've made it there, but didn't win it all. How come you're not talking to me? I can give you some better advice. And so Bobby sat down with him and talked to Jay for a few minutes about what to do here.
Farber busy again, opening for a raise to 1.3 million. Nobody wants to tangle with the VIP host. Back around to J.C. Tran. Maybe he does. Nobody else can outplay Jay Farber. J.C. Tran must feel that he can, so he just calls, and he'll try to get Farber post-flop. Trey deuce 10. Not a lot of world-class flops lately, Norman.
No, but it's one where you should be able to outplay the other guy post-flop if you're the more skilled player. And everybody, as you mentioned earlier, everyone's wanted to go against Farber post-flop. They figured he was the biggest fish, so to speak, at the table.
Tran checked. Farber puts out $1.6 million. And now, can J.C. Tran continue? No, he can't. Farber with a pocket pair. So the rush now for Jay Farber as he continues to build his chip stack. Over 60 million now. Jay Farber surprising a lot of people, but least of all himself, though. He has confidence. The VIP host here in Las Vegas has his own business. A degree from Santa Barbara City College. Fellow Vaquero.
Yes,
the tricked out 69 Camaro.
City College. Jay's father went to Harvard. And of course, Santa Barbara City College often referred to as the Harvard of the West.
Sister schools, yeah. I tell you, Santa Barbara City College has the best parking lot. It shares it with the beach in Santa Barbara, so you know you're in a good spot.
Raise 1.4.
All right, so folded to J.C. Tran with Farber in the big blind, and it's now Tran trying to cut off Farber at the pass.
Farber in no rush to end his rush.
Sometimes it just happens. I mean, Doral Brunson said it way back when he wrote Super Systems. Whenever he wins a hand, he plays the next hand. A 3-bet by Farber to 3.1 million.
Whenever he wins a hand, he plays the next one. You just can't believe that works. Antonio, does that work in the long run for you?
Not so much. Usually when JC looks back at his cards like this, he usually folds. It doesn't look like he wants to fold this one.
JC has been chipped away at. Down to 21 million. Still with plenty of play left. He's still looking at, what, 35 big blinds?
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
J.C. Tran with the concern and concentration on his face, showing how big a pot
6.4
and how important it is as he re-pops Farber to 6.4 million.
This is a very crucial pot for J.C. Tran.
Can Farber go for the kill here?
I think it's unlikely we see just a call from Farber, although he's getting 4-1. I think it's more likely we'll see a fold or a re-raise. And I don't think Farber is super strong. And perhaps JC picked up on that. If Farber has a hand like ace-jack, he's clearly going to fold it here. Maybe even ace-queen. So we'll see what he does, but I don't think he's that strong. I think he's just coming out guns blazing. Or we could have a little Hollywood show here.
He's looking at his chips.
$10 million even.
Oh, wow. He's got the goods.
10 million. Re-raise. 10 million.
And now J.C. Tran has to make an important decision.
If I'm sitting in JC's shoes and I have 2 jacks, I do not like my hand.
And this could be JC's main event right here.
Sixth place money out there, 1.6 million. JC Tran does not want to finish 6th.
I don't think there's any version of Jay Farber putting out 10 million without a really, really strong hand. Yeah, I think my read was way off. He's got the goods.
He has been talking lately to Vanessa Selps, who's capable of making brilliant maneuvers.
Vanessa Selps, that's a whole nother league. She could have anything, anytime, anywhere. Who knows?
So JC Tran for a huge decision. I mean, this really could be it.
Right. I mean, if he has 2 jacks, even 2 queens, he can't really love his hand. I don't see how he's going to get away from 2 queens, but if anybody could, it would be him. It's a very, very tough spot. He can only proceed with a super premium hand.
And we talk about JC's world-class reading skills. Here's where he needs it to be spot on.
JC Tran, concern on his face. Concern on JC's wife's face.
I mean, even if he folds here, this is a huge portion of his stack.
Absolutely, and that is really the crux that he is in here. Don't want to give it up, afraid to.
I think Tran has 2 jacks. He might even have 2 queens. I think it's probably more likely that he has 2 queens.
Jay Farber picked up another big hand. That's all he played early at this championship table. Then he started opening up. And now they don't know what he has. He is perspiring, certainly, under that hat, under these lights, under these conditions.
Wow, what a tough spot if he has.
And JC just did not want to get himself in position to have to get into a pre-flop battle like this.
Right, and I think if you had a hand like ace queen, is more likely to just call and try and see a flop with Jay. So I actually think he has a pretty good hand.
And a fold from JC. Ace queen, Farber with the pocket 6s, and he was going to the wall with the 6s.
Wow.
Ben Lamb leading the OJ chant.
OJ is okay. Some impressive poker from Jay Farber.
Probably had the worst hand.
Let's go down to Kara Scott, who knows a little something. Go down to Kara Scott, who is with somebody who knows a little something about winning this main event.
Yes, I don't know anything about winning this main event, but this man beside me does. 4 years ago, he was the one sitting at the final table, Jonathan Duhamel, and of course Mark Etienne was in the stands on his rail. So tell me, were they as good a rail as you guys clearly are?
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly like the same people 4 years ago and right now. So, and those guys are professional railers. They've been there before. They love doing it. So it's a lot of fun to be here and do that.
Talk to me about some of the chants that I'm hearing, especially when Mark Etienne is in the big blind.
Yeah, that's a Larry Walker chant. What's happening is, you know, Larry Walker is a pretty famous baseball player. You know, us Canadian, we like baseball. But also in the Walker last name, you know, there's the word walk. And so what we're trying to do is to induce the other players to fold their hand. So Mark's gonna have a walk. So that's why we do that. And so far it worked 2 times. So it's pretty good.
And he, you know, jumped up and gave us a bit of a show as well, so maybe that'll induce them to do it yet again. Now, he looks very comfortable there. He still says he's happy being called an amateur, but he's clearly not playing at an amateur level.
I mean, he's pretty good. He has a lot of businesses, so he knows like like to take risk and stuff like that. So he's been there before. I mean, he plays pretty well. He got pretty unlucky so far, but I mean, he's going to be able to bounce back. And yeah, I mean, hopefully he's going to be there for the final table.
And he has the kind of personality where he's able to shake that off. You're a good friend of his. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, he's a pretty calm guy too. So even though like the last time before the last break, you know, he lost a pretty big pot, went to eat and he came back. He was, you know, still doing pretty well. So yeah, he's a calm guy, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be out there playing the heads up and hopefully winning it.
Okay, that's Jonathan Duhamel. Might not look like him, but it is a former main event champion.
Main event champions are always kind of ambassadors for the game, right? You saw what he was wearing.
Saw what he was wearing, and then intellectually speaking, Lon, the thought that if you chant out Larry Walker's name, that somehow will induce a walk for your player. You know, we're at a very high level of poker, I thought. Larry Walker, Larry Walker. Really?
Oh, that's funny.
Farber's really opened up his game. I mean, pocket sixes he just went pretty crazy with. So,
yep,
you gotta give him a lot of respect, and probably a lot of respect for his coaches that are telling him to just go for it.
So JC Tran pick up a hand with a pre-flop raise, got no callers at ace king.
Yeah, again, respect for his coaches, tell him to go for it. But as you know, Antonio, there's a time to go for it and a time not to go for it, and he's got to execute the right spots.
Right. Well,
and right now he's executing.
He's been right so far. He just 4-bet with pocket tens correctly, and then he just 5-bet with pocket sixes, which is pretty tough to do.
Tran with another raise pre-flop into the man who has been running over this final table recently, Jay Farber. And it really has put a muzzle on Ryan Reese, who is barely the chip leader right now. Farber calls.
Blinds did jump up to 400, 800.
Back in J.C. Tran's first heyday, 2006 and 7, when he was winning everything in sight, he says it was a lot easier to be aggro. He says now they play back at you, and he has found that out tonight, and certainly with Jay Farber. Aggro doesn't always work anymore.
8, queen, 9. A couple of diamonds hit the board. Tran first to act. Trying to get some chips back from Jay Farber, or actually he'll take him from anywhere at this point.
Well, if Farber takes down this pot, the rush will take him to the chip lead.
Tran continues.
1.9 million.
$1.9 million to Jay Farber.
1.9.
And he releases his hand. And Tran will take the pot again. Farber with sixes this time, not so confident with them.
Would that have been a good flop for a big blind hand?
What's that?
The hand that you had in the big blind, would that been a good flop?
For me?
Yeah.
Would have been all right. Would have been all right.
That's what you call poker.
I would have connected.
So JC just asked in the previous hand, would that have been a good flop for him? And Jay said, yeah, kind of. When in fact it was the same exact hand.
JC working with just half the stack that he started this championship table with.
And fishing for any information he can get from Jay Farber.
A rare talk tonight, and JC is using all his skills to try to overcome the hole that he has dug for himself. And you see his supporters in the crowd. They're on the stage as well. Not much to cheer for tonight so far for JC Tran. Tran at it again with a raise to 1.6 million.
Tran is a fighter. You got to give him that.
Sylvain Luz-Lee. He and Tran with almost even stacks.
We have a call.
He calls. Reese gets out of the way. A lot of ways to handle the chip lead. Reese being very cautious right now.
Right. I mean, he sees there's a lot of activity going on, and everybody's kind of going a little bit crazy. So he doesn't really need to get involved in that. As much as he'd like to run over the table, he's in no rush. He's got all the chips. There's a massive pay jump moving up, and I think he's doing what he needs to do. Just kind of wait it out and pick his spots very carefully.
A couple of fours and a queen. Tran confidently, quickly puts out $1.5 million. Luz-Lee happy to do likewise.
Yeah, there's almost no hand that Luz-Lee can have a 4 in his hand. It's possible he could have a queen, maybe a flush draw.
Another heart, ace of hearts. You saw JC check.
Yeah, and it wouldn't really make any sense for Tran to fire again here. He bet the flop. His opponent called with 2 hearts out there, and now an overcard and a flush comes out. So if he fires again, it's very suspicious.
Loosely checks back. River card now. 10 of clubs. There's the check from JC.
I think JC really is hoping for a check back.
Oh yeah.
I think he has a hand that can win in a showdown.
There's the check from Loosely. See the cards. A queen, pair of queens for Tran, and pocket nines for Loosely, and JC Tran will be stacking another pot with queens up.
That was a really bad card for him. It really slowed down the action. I think that had it come to total blank, he's going to get a couple more bets out of Loosely.
And JC has chipped back up to 30 big blinds.
JC still trying to get info from Jay Farber. The whole team will be back tomorrow. Marianella, Antonio, myself, Norman, Chad, Kara, Scott, Phil Hellmuth, and we will crown a champion at the Penn and Teller Theater beginning at 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. $8.3 million. The $500,000 gold bracelet and the title of No One to Hold Him, world champion. JC Tran picking up some chips, picking up some confidence.
10 million.
JC still talking about that hand.
Amir Leavitt moves all in for $8 million.
10 big blinds.
We'll get through and we'll take that pot. And the button is king high from the button.
That's just one of those spots where there's so many chips in the pot.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a very good chance his opponent doesn't call. He's only got to get through one other player, so.
You felt like you had the best hand.
Final table so far, coming up on the 6-hour mark. 6 players left. Took a while to get our first one knockout. Then we got a couple bang bang. And not since McKeel Brimmelhouse was knocked out by Ryan Reese for $1,200,000. Had a knockout. But the blinds were up not too long ago, putting more pressure on the short stacks. Leavitt, McLaughlin with nearly identical stacks, $9.4 million. Loosely has fallen back, yet his rush got him up to over $30 million. Now only about half that in his possession right now. But he's going to raise it up to $1,750,000. The button folds on McLaughlin. Quick look at his cards. He releases. JC Tran now. Tran the big blind has 800,000 committed already. But he'll give it up. Tran folds a bigger ace.
Don't mess with Mr. Loosely.
Isn't that true? Jay Farber with almost 65 million chips. Farber got his hands on the bracelet just for a photo op. Short bit, but maybe he'll be the one holding it when all is said and done. Jay Farber has had a tremendous championship table to this point. Let's take a look at the Wild Turkey final table payouts. The last payout, as mentioned, McKeel Brimmelhouse, $1.2 million. Next to go out, $1.6 million. Then it jumps up to over $2 million. Third place pays $3.7 million, and then heads up a combined $13 million plus for the final 2 players. Jay Farber right now currently in second place but by only 1.5 million chips or so behind Ryan Reese.
You saw those pay jumps. I mean, it's just so much real money. Just the difference between 6th and 3rd is $2 million.
That's what's on the table right now. That's kind of a multi-bubble for these guys if you can hang on long enough.
1.6.
McLaughlin looking at the chip count on the big screen to tell JC how much he had to start the hand.
JC's in a spot where he can't really 3-bet to a number where he can fold if McLaughlin moves all in. So basically, he has to be committed to that if he raises him here.
So if JC's going to get involved, he has to shove.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to re-raise him, he's got to put in at least, you know, 3.5, 4 million. If he puts in that much and McLaughlin moves all in, he's getting the right price to have to call.
He does re-pop McLaughlin.
3.4 million on a fold.
I'm all in.
3-4.
McLaughlin shoves on Tran.
It's unlikely we see a fold here, given the price he's getting. But he's not happy about it.
Well, JC knew the possibility.
Right. But he min raises, so he gave himself the opportunity to get away from it if he really thinks that McLaughlin has him, you know, in a really bad spot.
Well, Tran started the hand not quite 3 times the stack of McLaughlin.
And McLaughlin could have been more polite when JC asked for a chip count. Instead of counting it out, he could have said, well, I don't know what my chips are, but if you raise me, I'm going to go all in.
That would have been the polite thing. Canadians are polite people.
They are.
Now Tran once again in a familiar position. We saw this against Farber, where he's trying to figure out, is this the time where I have to commit a huge portion of my stack?
I mean, he knows that McLaughlin is not doing this without a real hand. If JC has a hand like ace-10, it's a really tough call. Given there's so much money in the pot and the price he's getting, I think that with a lot of hands, he would have already been in the pot much faster. So it feels like an ace-10 kind of hand.
JC really back himself, paint himself into a corner though before? I mean, should he have thought about this in a little different angle?
I mean, he was just hoping that, you know, McLaughlin didn't have anything where he can move all in here with. And now he's getting a pretty good price, but he doesn't want to hand, you know, 6 more million chips away.
There's the call.
Ace-Jack is my guess. 6s.
Oh, it's ugly for JC.
Wow. Ace-King for McLaughlin. He is at risk. JC Tran has to run him down with just ace-7.
I mean, he's getting a good price, but I don't like this call at all. I mean, most of the time he's completely dominated. Ace-10. Wow.
Ace-King suited for McLaughlin, and JC maybe just seemed frustrated, you know?
Yeah, but he you know, usually frustration doesn't get to him. I think that he just kind of tried to find a way to call. He thought maybe, you know, Mark McLaughlin had king-queen or king-jack suited or something and was trying to be a hero, but I don't think it was worth it.
Sometimes players like Tran know they can overcome a loss of this proportion too. But
right, but he's getting into a, you know, very dangerous territory if he loses this pot.
Mark-Etienne McLaughlin is the one at risk, but he's almost a 3-to-1 favorite. Here is the flop. A couple of trays and a jack.
Very safe flop for Mark-Etienne.
He wouldn't mind the board pairing again with JC.
JC would love a jack.
Jonathan Duhamel trying to send good vibes down to his buddy McLaughlin. JC with a 6.
And the turn brings a big smile to Mark-Etienne's face. Still a chop possibility. If Mark-Etienne, though, can just avoid a 7, he will stay alive, double up into 3rd chip position at this 6-handed table. JC hits the 7, he's gone.
It's 3 trays with a jack, and so the king will play for McLaughlin as he doubles up, and there is a hand worthy of the leap.
And Mark Etienne gets an unexpected gift from J.C. Tran there.
Yeah, I was surprised to see the call.
McLaughlin over 19 million. So JC tried to muscle Mark Etienne, but McLaughlin found a way to get the maximum value out of his ace-king. And in this never-tamed moment, Mark Etienne McLaughlin doubles through the man who began this championship table as the chip leader. A huge smile of relief for Mark Etienne. Still not out of danger, 19 million chips. And J.C. Tran knocked down to 14.8 million after calling with ace-7.
JC, the start-of-day chip leader, now in his worst position of this evening, under 20 big blinds.
That's because you didn't believe me. You were surprised to see what I had.
McLaughlin with a raise of 1.6 million. Fresh chips to play. Sylvain Lee in 4th place. McLaughlin now in 3rd. And
I just felt like
with ace-4
the
gets
read I
through.
had was you thought you had the best hand. So you felt like you had the best hand. It wasn't like the read I didn't get was.
It's 1.8 million chips around.
And around comes around quick.
Every 6 hands is 1.8 million chips. So if you want to win, you have to be active.
And you see in seeding order, Farber and Reese almost bookending the rest of the table. McLaughlin over 20 million now. And it really is the haves and have-nots. Ryan Reese has been quiet, but he's managed to hang on to his chip lead, fighting off the surges of Jay Farber recently. So a lesson for chip leaders out there, Antonio, if things are just going crazy all around you, no reason to get too involved.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was trying to find a hero call there, and you know, I liked the way he's been playing up to that point. I think he's been playing great, given that he's really not had many cards. Just an unfortunate turn of events. And, you know, sometimes you do get a little frustrated.
McLaughlin with another raise. 1.6 million. Mosley. Looks like he's cutting out a 3-bet. Re-raise. It's Ryan Reese to fold before the count.
3.8.
Loosely makes it 3.8 million.
Seems like he got his mojo back. McLaughlin, not one of the players that likes to fold.
He just picked up these chips, but he's still not that deep. 25 big blinds, not a lot of room for missteps.
1 or 2 missteps and it's big trouble.
And this quartet of the shorter stacks really in a difficult position.
We have a 9 million chip pot going into the flop.
Watching
5 million more.
Put in 2.2 million more to make the call. Yeah. Flop 9, king 7, 2 spades.
He jammed there with king jack, king 22. And especially my 3-bet.
Now loose Lee. Who took control pre-flop with the 3-bet. I don't know what they're saying, but I got to believe it's the Canadians.
Yeah, and they're chanting out something that's going to force Loosely to fold the flop, fold the flop.
Have a bet. 3 million.
Well, I guess Loosely's French is not very good because he's not folding the flop. Oh, his French should be very good, shouldn't it?
Yeah, he's French Canadian, yeah. 3 million from Loosely. Bigger ace between these two hands. And the French on their feet saluting their man. With a strain very apparent on the faces of these final 6 players.
McLaughlin's just lucky an ace didn't flop on that. I mean, if an ace comes with the amount of chips in the pot, I don't think he's going to get away from it.
Loosely with his first ever main event cash. Also his first ever World Series of Poker cash. Played a couple of World Series of Poker Europe events. Came up empty. Certainly not coming in up empty in this main event. Loughlin will try it again.
1.6.
Raised to 1.6. Tran and Barber fold. Let's see if Loosely wants to try again. And Reese now, the chip leader. Reese has chips invested already as the small blind.
Yeah, let me chew some gum and 3-bet because I'm Ryan Reese and you're not.
Nobody has more chips than I.
And he's been playing pretty solid in the last few rounds, so it's kind of an interesting spot to come out firing in the small blind. I think it's more likely he has something reasonable than total air. He also knows that McLaughlin has been opening basically every pot since he doubled up. It's funny, even when you 3-bet with a hand like ace queen, you just don't really want to see a 4-bet because it's so gross. It's like there's not that many hands that you can beat unless your opponent is stone cold bluffing.
Norman's been saying that for years. Jacks for Reese. 10-9 suited for McLaughlin. Well, he would have loved to see a flop.
Yes, he would have.
With a couple of jacks gone, maybe it wouldn't have mattered. And Reese will stack the winnings.
Good luck.
His 3-bet taking that pot. Coming up on hand number 117. We had fun last year. We're hoping not to repeat last year. That 399 total hands. It was a long night, morning. But you see what's happened the last few years. The tendency has been to go more and more hands at the final table. Any particular reason for that, do you think? Or
I don't know. I mean, I think obviously the more players you have, the longer it's going to take. But I think also the players are more skilled, and you know everything goes into the equation.
Ryan Reese, over 68 million, the Michigan State graduate. He always knew he wanted to be a poker player, though, despite the degree in hospitality.
And in fact, his family went to Las Vegas when he was 14, and he always knew he wanted to be in Las Vegas. He thought about going to UNLV and ended up doing the hospitality business major, which leads to maybe working in a casino. And if he wins this thing, he might be able to buy a casino.
That ain't true. Live it all in for $8 million. And he'll take it. But in the small blind, just had to get through McLaughlin.
Yeah, it's 20% to his stack. I
Amir just never changes countenance. He doesn't look much different when he's stacking a big stack. Right now he's the short stack. He doesn't say much. He doesn't say much at Thanksgiving dinner. This is Amir Leivik, very solid.
You know, originally you just plan to take a year off from work to work on that chat site that we talked about, and then that became a couple of years, and then he started winning, and that, you know, so could be a long wait for the folks in Silicon Valley to have Amir Leivik come back to work.
Reed to 1,600,000.
Ryan Reese makes it 1,600,000. Leivik now. The short stack. This is all in again. This time it's worth 9.3 million. And it comes back around to Reese, who folds. Reese folds King Jack, a pocket pair for Leivik. Well, you know, he's not always quiet. We did get Amir Leivik to talk a little bit. Let's hear what he had to say.
I definitely think that there's some correlation to my chess success and my poker success. There's definitely analytical thinking helps a lot in poker, but I think the two games are very, very different. And there's a lot of skills that you need to have in poker that you don't need to have in chess. There's a lot more psychology in poker. There's a lot more variance in poker, way more variance. But I definitely do think that there's a lot of similarities as well.
And Dan Amir says there's so much more luck in poker than chess. He says that chess favors more skilled players, 99-1. Phil Hellmuth should play chess.
Amir said when he was in Israel as a junior youth chess player, he was ranked 15th or 20th, and then about that time, 16 years old, he came over to the U.S. and won the Texas Junior Chess Championship. So maybe
yeah, he won it because he was a ringer. I mean, he lived in Texas. It was the 18 and under championship, but he'd been playing at a much better level in Israel. Who's playing Texas in chess? Friday Night Lights is not a bunch of chess matches. It's a bunch of high school football games.
Time to step up our game in chess, Norman. Well, tomorrow night's going to be a very big night. This one, an exciting night for our 9 finalists. Tomorrow we'll crown a champion. 9 p.m. Eastern, we'll begin our coverage on ESPN. A new No Limit Hold'em world champion to be crowned, along with the bracelet and $8.3 million. It's the respect of all the players. You are looked up at the rest of your career. It is truly a very special title to hold in this community. Barber trying to limp in. Now loosely checks his option in the big blind. Heads up, small blind, big blind. There's a championship flop for you.
Yeah, I don't think either one of those players hit that flop pretty big, just given the limp aspect pre-flop. There's a chance one of them got a little piece of it, but probably not a whole lot.
$1 million from Farber. $1 million from Loosely.
Akil Brummelhaus, who finished 7th, thought that Loosely might be the best player at this final table, and he thought that Jay Farber was probably the weakest player at this final table.
Where is McKill saying that right now?
Well, there's a nearby bar in which he is celebrating his $1.2 million score, but that was just his opinion.
See the jack on the turn. Farber checks this time, as does Loosely. 7 of hearts.
Check.
Yeah, there's not many hands that Jay's gonna bet without a jack and without a 10 in his hand. So I obviously his hand has a lot of showdown value.
Check, check.
I think neither one has any paint. There we go. Loosely did.
Oh, there, wow. King 7, king's up for Loosely. Everyone worried about the straight. Loosely got out of it with the kings up and will take the pot.
I'm surprised Farber didn't stab at it, knowing that he can't win in a showdown. But sometimes you just have to give up.
Yeah, give up. He's really paying a price for that scarf around his neck. It's warm out there in the lights.
Yeah. And if you wear a scarf under warm lights, eventually you have Richard Nixon flop sweat on your upper lip. I've known that for years.
And there it is. Is there turn sweat and river sweat also?
Right.
Richard Nixon actually was a very good poker player, one of several U.S. presidents who loved to play poker and played it well. Tell me he wasn't a bluffer.
McLaughlin with a raise to 1.6 million. Action on Reese now, the big blind.
13-5.
McLaughlin is so active without chips. Imagine him with chips.
Call.
$800,000 from Reese. He'll see if flop heads up with McLaughlin. 9-10 ace. Now Reese checks. McLaughlin, the pre-flop raiser.
$2,300,000.
That could have hit him, I think, Antonio. Do you think?
Well, I mean, he raised pre-flop.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
There's a chance he has an ace.
Ace is up.
Wow, 2 pair.
And McLaughlin will stay in his seat. He only does the leap for walks, I guess. And McLaughlin's staying anchored in his seat. He seemed to find some sort of momentum by getting a couple of walks that he did, and found his way into the crowd, and maybe that's what he needs. Maybe that was the trigger to getting him into position where he could start playing for bigger chips. This is actually 2 different times, but he leaped up at the same time.
Yeah, and those leaps so exhausted him that the 3rd time he went over to his rail, he did not leap. They just let him in. Because for all the dodgeball, whatever, he's not in shape. He's sitting around a poker table most of the time. None of these guys are in shape.
So
he's not in shape. I don't care how big his arms are.
You've never seen that before. Then you got to see it in replay in split screen. Farber opens for 1.7 million. Breaking new ground tonight.
That is true. Who would have thought we'd seen a split screen leap? 2 different leaps from the same guy.
5-4 clubs for Farber. Lucky nobody had anything else. Jay Farber with almost 62 million chips.
Now, he lives in Las Vegas. It's sunny all the time. He never sees the sun. Amir lives in South Florida. It's sunny all the time. He never sees the sun. Don't get me started on McLaughlin. He's in Canada. It's not sunny all the time. He ain't seeing the sun. These guys are inside all the time, doing this most of their life. Nothing wrong with it if they're not in shape.
J.C. Tran commits $1.7 million pre-flop. On the button now, Reese releases his hand. Leavat says no thanks. Big blind now, Mark Etienne. And he will give J.C. Tran the pot. Well, J.C. seems to have settled down a little bit. Ace-Jack offsuit. Certainly worthy of that raise. And sunglasses, as we mentioned, prevalent. Those are the sunglasses of Jay Farber, who he has opted to store on his ball cap for the moment.
And he was wearing them earlier. And now he hasn't been wearing them sometimes when he's in the hand. You think he put them on when he's in the hand, but he hasn't.
It's been a 15-minute delay since you were, harshing on him about the sunglasses.
Oh, I'm sure that made a difference.
Bud gives up his button. McLaughlin asks for a count on J.C. Tran's stack.
13, 14 now?
Very even stacks. The short stacks are going to have to combine forces to deal with these two big stacks.
Great. Well, one short stack's a Montreal Canadian guy. The other one's a Sacramento King guy. Just to combine those forces, I don't think you have a winning anything right now.
Reyes gets through. Tran folds his blind. McLaughlin will take it. Tran folded Jack Trey.
I think even if Tran has a hand like Jack Trey, which is complete garbage, he should at least take a couple minutes to think about it. Not a couple minutes, but he actually should be making McLaughlin think that he's thinking about making a move, not, hey, I have air, I'm folding instantly, because that makes people more likely to attack your big blind. And so as much as
so
I
the
hate to say,
Hollywooding is a factor.
I mean, a little bit. At least make your opponents think you're thinking about it, even when you're really not.
It makes a difference, really.
Of course it makes a difference. It's pretty clear that if JC doesn't have anything remotely workable on the big blind, he's just going to fold it.
Reese now the one to open for a raise. Farber folds his big blind, and Reese will take it.
Wow, Farber just folds the old queen jack, no flop taken. That's what you call squeezy.
Ryan Reese, 67.3 million. Our chip leader, as he starts to edge away from second place Jay Farber.
And I still think, we still got three stacks there, 20 big blinds or below, but I still think any of these six could win. Mir doubles up to 20 million and then starts chipping up a little more. I just think any of these six can win. Originally I thought David Benefield could come from being the short stack to win this thing. There's enough talent here that I think any of these six can win.
All the players seemingly taking their turns with the pre-flop raise. It's Tran now. This is 1.7 million. And Farber looks like he wants to play back.
Yes, he does. He's never done this and not follow through, so for sure they're going forward.
Raise to 3,900,000.
3.9 million from Jay Farber. He took a lot of Tran's chips. Loosely folds. So Tran gives it up after trying to steal it. Farber with pocket kings back to his old ways.
Whee! Nice time to pick up two kings.
Indeed.
Poor Tran is just getting stomped on.
He's really running into some bad luck.
Yeah, he's got to be frustrated.
So you see Reese, the chip leader. He has scored 2 of the 3 knockouts. Mark Newhouse was the first casualty off this championship table when Reese flopped a king. David Benefield, the short stack to start, moved up 1 pay notch, but Jay Farber knocked him out. Bremo House started in 7th, went out in 7th, but won 1.2 million. Reese with 2 knockouts, Farber with 1, and that's where we stand right now. Our final 6 players. Ryan Reese, the chip leader right now, with 67.2 million. Jay Farber not far behind, and then you've got 4 smaller stacks. All of them really putting heat on themselves anytime they put chips into the middle. McLaughlin open raises to 1.6 million.
And he continues to be quite active with a pretty short stack.
Is that like 16?
16.5.
Cool.
A call from Reese in the big blind. Heads up. 5 queen tray. Big stack, Ryan Reese now. As they both check. 9 of diamonds.
Not often you see a check on the flop when there's 4 million chips in the pot.
Check. Check.
Oh, a check on the turn. This is Norman Chad poker.
Another queen on the river.
You can rest assured neither player has a queen. That's almost for sure.
Check. Check, check.
Let's find out.
I think it's ace-ace.
Yep, ace-king for McLaughlin will be the winner. So McLaughlin picking up some chips from the chip leader, Mark Etienne's girlfriend, Laurence Grandin, on her feet, applauding her man. So Reese gives a few back. But you see the gap between second and third is huge, almost over 42 million chips. And Farber and Reese are just fine with that. Jay Farber in second place right now. Started the table in fourth with 25.9 million. McLaughlin, Tran, Farber fold over to Sylvain Lousli. He gives way to Ryan Reese. Reese in the small blind.
And the super short stack is in the big blind, so wow. It's a good time to apply some pressure, but if you have total air, it's kind of hard to proceed, but yeah.
Shows an ace.
Not just any ace, Lon. The ace of spades. Prettiest card in the deck. You know, I was just watching Rounders for about the 12th time, and I can't believe it wasn't until the 12th time I watched it that I noticed that Worm has an ace of spades tattooed to his wrist.
Oh, really?
I've watched that film forever, and I never noticed that Edward Norton playing Worm's got an ace of spades tattoo.
I mean, there was a part in the movie where he actually says, "Oh, ace up my sleeve." That was the ace of spades. You know?
I've always got an ace up my sleeve.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
The 12th time, Norman. What's wrong?
Not a very good film watcher. I mean, when I'm by myself, I'm looking for somebody to neck with.
Larry Walker, you hear it. Guess who's in the big blind?
That's like
oh no, Amir, don't do it, Amir.
Leroy Jenkins.
Is Amir going to do it again? He's all in. Far from Larry Walker. Yeah.
Ladwood is pretty fortunate. Every time he moves in, Mark McLaughlin has nothing. I mean, if McLaughlin ever wakes up with an ace or a king in his hand, I think there's a very good chance he's getting insta-called with any ace for sure. He's 3 for 3 on this one.
Well, Leavitt has to be winning pots this way
because
he has not won a pot. He has not won one chip at Showdown tonight.
Right, and he just overtook Tran and is now the 5th lowest, where J.C. Tran is the shortest stack.
J.C. Tran has gone from the chip leader to the short stack 6-handed.
Wow.
Raise to 1,700,000.
And we played 130 hands. Has JC had pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens?
He had ace king once.
Ace king once.
He folded ace queen once.
He folded the ace queen to the 5-bet, but again, he's had very few pocket pairs, period, that we know of.
Yeah, we haven't seen him really do too well with the cards.
Farber with the raise to 1.7 million.
Dun, dun, dun. The Frenchman is here.
He's going to try to get some off the bank of Jay Farber.
Lucy's in a very interesting spot. I mean, I know he wants to win the tournament, but there's so much money at stake in each pay raise, and he's third in chips, but he's not really trailing that far behind fourth, fifth, and sixth.
800,000.
Yeah, it's one of those tentative, weak third spots you could be in right now. I mean, he's only got 25 big blinds.
Folded back now to Farber. And Farber gives up his hand in the 1.7 million. Loosely with queens and got Farber to fold a suited ace.
I mean, the difference between sixth and third is almost $2 million.
They are playing for a lot, and the lot comes up very quickly. Let's take a look at the Wild Turkey final table payouts. David Benefield picking up some extra change, coming in as the short stack. Mikhail Brimmelhouse, 7th place money. 6th place money, 1.6 million. And then tomorrow on ESPN at 9 Eastern, the champion will earn 8.3 million plus. Coming up on the break, Marianella and Phil Hellmuth will be out there talking about the luck of the game. Yeah, it comes into play. And a closer look at Mark-Etienne McLaughlin, who has survived so far. But it has been a tough slog for all of these players on the shorter stack.
Raise.
McLaughlin, the raise on the button.
1.6 million.
6 or 7 minutes before we get to the break. McLaughlin will take it with ace-jack. Farber back with the shades. McLaughlin picks up some much needed chips, over 18.8 million now. Tran below 10 million. Farber in second place. He and Reese. It's a 2-horse race right now.
It's a 6-horse race, I'm telling you. It's a 6-horse race. You ever watch the Breeders' Cup?
Yes, I do.
You ever see people come from 10, 12 lengths behind down the stretch?
It happens.
Thank you. This is the Breeders' Cup. Everyone's got 2 legs instead of 4. And nobody's has to carry somebody else on their shoulders around the track.
Tran all in. For over 9.4 million.
Shades are back on.
Sylvain Loosely. Everyone has Tran covered. Thought about it. Shot will get through. JC will pick up some valuable chips.
JC used to think for years that he had a final table curse. He was just convinced that he was an incredible number of final tables. He made 5 World Poker Tour final tables, finally won a World Poker Tour title. Just bad things happened at the final table. That title helped switch his thinking on that. He ended up winning a couple of bracelets after that. Tonight, he hasn't had a curse. He certainly has not had good luck. He's not had very many cards. He made 1 play I think he'd like to have back that you talked about earlier with the ace-7 against Farber.
Yeah, I think he probably regretted that one.
It has been a slow, steady fall for JC Tran from the top of the heap.
Raise to 1.7.
I mentioned a lot of his chips going to Jay Farber, who just raises to 1.7 million. Loosely the 3rd biggest stack here. Which Jay Farber is making this raise? Sylvain's thinking.
This is becoming almost systematic. Every time Farber opens the pot on the button, Loosely seems to want to 3-bet him in the small blind. He just did it with queens, but Farber doesn't know he had queens at this point.
Raise. 4,600,000.
That's a pretty big raise, by the way.
Very big raise, 4.6 million. You saw Reese give up his hand. So back to Farber now.
That's usually one of those commitment, I'm not folding, re-raise raises. Maybe 8s or 7s. Wow, kings.
Again.
Goodness, queens, then kings. And Farber showing good discipline there with the suited ace getting out of the way.
Do you like that big re-raise there? Is it a little too big, or is it, I mean, he was up against an ace, so that's maybe what he's thinking.
Right, I don't think it's too big. I mean, you know, if a flop comes with an ace, every chip matters so much. It's kind of a tough spot. He doesn't want Farber to get priced in. There's so much money in the pot. I mean, he wins $4 million just doing what he did. So I think it's fine.
A loose lead now with over 26 million chips. Finally getting a little more comfortable in the black from where he started. Blinds are up though, so relatively he's not really any healthier. Folded to Ryan Reese, the relatively quiet chip leader as of late.
$1 million.
Folded to you as a chip leader, you're going to put some chips in the pot. Reese in the small blind with a raise to 1.9 million. Lehava now in the big, and he gives up his hand, and Reese will take it down. Reese raising it up with 5-4. Seen him do that before.
As Phil Hellmuth mentioned earlier, he's been relatively unscarred tonight. Just rise, rise, rise. Same with Jay Farber. So once again, the two big chip leaders, we haven't seen either one have to absorb a big blow and then react to it. It has been really easy swimming for both of them.
Hope you're enjoying the action here on ESPN2, coming your way from the Rio Penn and Teller Theater. World Series of Poker main event championship table down to its final 6 players. Ron McCarron, Norman Chad, Antonio Esfandiari, Paris Scott during the break, Marianella Pereira, Phil Hellmuth. Oh, there it is! There it is! We got a walk!
Well, he's turned a walk into a leap. He's setting a record that I believe is just not going to be equaled any time in main event history for the final table. Most leaps into the crowd. I mean, he's Bob Beamaning this record. Who's going to leap into the crowd this often?
And that exciting walk will take us to break with Ryan Reese in the chip lead. Jay Farber with 58 million in the second place. Mark Etienne McLaughlin with 19 million chips, but you'd think he had about 4 times that. Back with Marianella and Phil after this.